me, it's like, let me think. You ever have that feeling like when somebody's tickling you or whatever, kind of?
Yeah.
And you're like, you just can't even handle it?
Yeah.
It's like that feeling, but it's like in your brain kind of when you're trying to pay attention. So it's like your paying attention doesn't work, you know?
Oh. No, I don't think anyone has ADD that I know of. I hope not, because that would be too fun to have.
Yeah, pull that up. Do the Amish have ADD?
The great thing about the new NIH initiative on autism is that scientists will use rigorous advanced methods in causal inference, machine learning, organoids, and other fresh approaches to the problem. The sharp rise in the prevalence of autism deserves an urgent response by the science.
Like, I wish, this is a really good point. I wish researchers would figure that, like, there could be more than one thing that causes a thing. Like, has any retarded medical researcher ever thought maybe there's more than just one factor, multiple variables that could influence the thing? I feel like every time I talk to a medical researcher, they're like, I researched this thing and I looked at one variable and it didn't solve it, so there must not be an actual explanation. But thank God we finally have some real American men of genius to tell the researchers to think about multiple causes for things. Thank God. Thank you. Thank you.
Today, the FDA is taking action to update the label on acetaminophen and sending a letter to all U.S. doctors letting them know about the risks in pregnancy. We now have data we cannot ignore. There's a very large study, the Boston Birth Cohort, with researchers that have, from Johns Hopkins, my former institution, and Boston University, found, quote unquote, consistent associations between acetaminophen in pregnancy and autism. And the Nurses' Health Study with researchers from Yale, Columbia, and Harvard looking at 9,000 kids found that acetaminophen use in pregnancy was associated with neurodevelopmental disorders. And 4 weeks ago, a Mount Sinai Harvard study reviewed...
Is autism considered a neurodevelopmental disorder? That acetaminophen, 9,000 kids was associated with that? Why? There are way larger studies on this. Yes, it is.
All the existing literature and found the overwhelming body of evidence points to an association. Sure, you'll be able to find a study to the contrary. That's how science works. But to quote the dean of the Harvard School of Public Health, there is a causal relationship between prenatal acetaminophen use and neurodevelopmental disorders of ADHD and autism spectrum disorder. We cannot wait any longer.
What's that? Does anybody have where that quote comes from?
And honestly, there's been this perfunctory, reactionary, mindless practice in medicine. I learned it in medical school and residency. Just treat all fevers, low-grade fevers, treat them with acetaminophen. Why? What are we doing? A study out of Hopkins actually showed that treating a fever can prolong the duration of illness in a young kid. Maybe that's because a fever is a body's natural way of ridding an infection.
Anytime, like, one of the scariest things that you can ever hear is when somebody talks about, like, the body's natural ways of doing things. The body does have, like, a healthy homeostatic environment that it prefers to be in, and a healthy body can do a lot of really amazing things. But when people talk about bodies naturally doing things with regards to diseases, that's usually
ein Teil offen lassen für das, was noch kommt. Wir haben uns irgendwo geeinigt, wo ich gesagt habe, okay, alles passt. Und dann ging es auch schon los am Montag. Wo der Trailer gepostet worden ist, habe ich das erste Mal über Verträge geredet.
Nee, der Trailer von ihm wurde gelauncht am Montag, meinte er. Von dieser Istanbul United, meint er, ne?
Habe ich das erste Mal erfahren, wie viel Reisekosten kriegt man, was wird bezahlt, was wird nicht bezahlt, wie viele Tickets kriegt man. Solche Sachen wurden das erste Mal besprochen. Als Beweis dafür, dass es bei mir nie um ein Deal gibt oder sonstiges. Ich finde auch, warum sollte man das auch mit mir besprechen? Warum sollte ich das auch anfragen? So, ich dachte, es bleibt alles beim Alten. So, weißt du, es hat mich gar nicht interessiert. Und dann ist mir aber auch aufgefallen, dass ich möchte nichts unterstellen, aber es sieht so da, als würde man mich als Schutzschild benutzen, weil auch dass man Motoneu 5 Land einen Tag davor announced, es ist ja schon früher klar gewesen, ich küsse eure Augen, du kannst nicht einfach eine Mannschaft so rausschmeißen. Es ist ja schon, wie lange dauert dieser Prozess? Aber das wird so einen Tag vor meinem Trailer gepostet nach dem Motto, okay, wir kriegen jetzt Hate, aber dafür mit Istanbul United kriegen wir wieder Hype. Ich habe so das Gefühl bekommen, ey...
Wait. Nochmal, was hat der einen Tag vorher gewesen? Warum wurde der Schutzschild benutzt? Das habe ich nicht verstanden. Warte mal, was? Eine andere Mannschaft wurde rausgeworfen. Ah, okay. Ja, sorry, das verfolge ich halt gar nicht, deswegen weiß ich sowas nicht. Okay. Dafür, dass die Istanbul reinkommt. Okay.
Nichts unterstellen, aber es sieht so da, als würde man mich als Schutzschild benutzen, weil auch dass man Motoneu 5 Land einen Tag davor announced, es ist ja schon früher klar gewesen, ich küsse eure Augen, du kannst nicht einfach eine Mannschaft so rausschmeißen. Es ist ja schon, wie lange dauert dieser Prozess? Aber das wird so einen Tag vor meinem Trailer gepostet nach dem Motto, okay, wir kriegen jetzt Hate, aber dafür mit Istanbul United kriegen wir wieder Hype. Ich habe so das Gefühl bekommen, ey, ich werde irgendwo auch als Schutzschild benutzt, weil ich habe halt eine krasse Community und die Leute werden mich mehr feiern, als die Leute das haten werden. Und ich habe das Gefühl, dass es mit dem Deal in die gleiche Richtung geht. Dafür muss ich euch jetzt auch mal kurz Istanbul United erklären. Leute, Istanbul United ist nicht eine Mannschaft wie die anderen. Istanbul United war für Icon League ein großer Schlüssel. Ich werde dazu, kann ich keine Details...
Das Ding ist, man muss ja mehr eine Sache lassen, ne? Immer wenn es um Felder geht oder um Türken, ne? Bruder, der schafft das so zu verpacken. Das ist nicht nur eine Sache, das ist Leidenschaft, das ist dies, das ist das. Der ist immer so dieses, Bruder, ihr wisst nicht, das ist Schlüssel gewesen für Icon League. Ja, Icon League wäre und es geht unter ohne euch. Aber geil, ich sage euch ehrlich, feier das, ich finde das unterhaltsam.
Detaillierten Infos geben, weil ich auch irgendwo so einen Respekt habe, dass ich Pläne und so weiter geheim halte. Aber ich kann nur sagen, Istanbul United war ein großer Schlüssel. Aber dieser große Schlüssel, das funktioniert nicht ohne eine Community. Ein Fenerbahce funktioniert nicht ohne seine Fans. Ein Galatasaray funktioniert nicht ohne seine Fans. Ein Beşiktaş funktioniert nicht ohne seine Fans. Und auch diese großen Mannschaften würden in den schlimmsten Zeiten, wenn die Fans etwas nicht wollen, dafür halten. Lass mal meine Entscheidung nebenbei. Ich habe mich entschieden, ich bin immer noch stolz auf meine Entscheidung. Ich würde mich immer so gleich entscheiden. Aber jetzt lasst uns das auch mal geschäftlich sehen, weil die Leute wollen ja die ganze Zeit geschäftlich denken. Leute, ihr wollt eine Istanbul United Mannschaft. Warum ist die Istanbul United Mannschaft da? Weil wir das erste Mal echte Fans, richtige Fans, Impulsivität.
Krass, er liegt einfach, dass die echt immer gebottet haben, dass die echt keine Zuschauer sonst haben. Nein, Spaß. Okay.
Wirklich für Lärm, für Stimmung in der Halle sorgen. Ich kann nicht da jede Woche mit dieser Community, die dann ein großer Schlüssel ist zu einer muslimischen, türkischen Welt, jede Woche Werbung machen für etwas, wo die Community dagegen ist, wo ich auch dagegen bin. Ob ich das jetzt privat trinke oder nicht, könnt ihr mir vorwerfen, was ihr wollt. Das ist eure Sache. Ich brauche euch das nicht erklären. Ich möchte euch das auch nicht erklären.
Okay, reden wir mal schon mal jetzt über diesen ersten Take. Das ist ja das, was auch sehr krass, warum das Ganze ja überhaupt entstanden ist. Ich sehe das so. Ich sehe das aus verschiedenen Blickwinkeln. Ich verstehe ihn erst einmal, dass er hat natürlich muslimische Anhänger und das Problem gerade in Palästina, Israel betrifft natürlich, weil die Opfer sind natürlich überwiegend muslimisch, ne? Gibt auch ein paar christliche, aber überwiegend muslimisch, dass die sich da anders hingezogen fühlen zu der Thematik, ist ja schon mal verständlich in erster Linie. Völlig auch egal mit diesen, ich will gar nicht hier diese Recht-Unrecht-Sachen diskutieren, weil mir geht es erstmal nur um das Verständnis für Mert oder von Merts Seite aus. So, und jetzt sagt Mert halt, dass er nicht dahinter stehen kann, will er auch nicht, also nicht nur seine Community, sondern auch von sich aus macht er diese Entscheidung nicht. Also er sieht sich einmal als Vorbild von den Muslimen für diese Sache, bei dieser Sache, also in dem Fall wegen Coca-Cola. Und dann sagt er aber auch, er persönlich supportet das nicht. Ihm scheißegal, ob er vorher Cola selber getrunken hat oder nicht. So, jetzt ist das Ding, das ist ein sehr diskutables Thema. Auch auf TikTok in den Kommentaren habe ich das gesehen. Sehr viele Leute haben Videos gemacht, die für Mert gesprochen haben oder sogar gegen Mert, gegen dieses Argument gesprochen haben, weil es aus der Einsicht ist es, okay, Werbung machen ist was anderes wie Privatkonsum.
Strong soundcloud.com/hosting. soundcloud.com/hosting.
You have seen in this patient apathy, indifference, inappropriate emotional reaction or smiling when asked about loneliness, general gracelessness of posture, total lack of ambition and initiative, with no real plans for the future, hallucination, but her memory and orientation are intact, and she was quite curious. Can you tell me what they're saying? Characteristic picture, chronic, simple, schizophrenia.
I don't pay any attention to what they say.
You told me another time that sometimes you hear voices talking to you, can't see the people. Does that happen often?
Yes, I think it's all day.
All day?
Yes, I would. Wake up.
Need that. I think we need to start putting points into size. Any thoughts with it? Oh, we need fork. That's huge. Oh my god, this is insane. We need to get flat damage and damage overall, I think. We have enough life still. What XP? I'm barely leveling anymore. Oh my fucking god. Size helps rockets. That's massive, but this is... Chat, 26 is crazy though. Bone is okay, bone is crazy though. 8 bounce is nuts. 8.4 bounce. Chad, do I go for the standard like wait 3 minutes? Chat, revolver is good here, I think. Chat, we need the base damage to go up. Chat, we need the base damage to go up, man. Yeah, I kinda had to. Okay, swarm first and then boss, yeah? Ice cube for sure, right? Oh god. Where is he? I don't see Magneta.
Huge indicator of some weird pseudoscientific underlying bullshit. So like, for instance, chiropractors believe that the body can naturally clear every single infection or cancer or diabetes or anything as long as the spine is in the correct alignment. And a lot of like homeopathy or a lot of like these weird alternative medicine bullshit things like use this phrasing of like a healthy body can clear everything naturally, right? Like, yeah, detoxification. Detox is also another huge red flag. That's not to say that like, again, there are like, there's optimal environments that your body can have in order to, you know, clear infections and everything. That is true. I don't think that fever claim that he made, I don't believe that that's true though. Because I used to wonder that, like, well, I thought if the body raises the temperature with a fever to make it so that the environment is less hospitable for reproduction of viruses or bacteria, when we lower the fever, doesn't that take us longer to get better? I thought I looked this up a long time ago, but I didn't read studies on this, and that's just not true. You get over the illness in about the same time duration, but I don't know.
My wife was pregnant and delivered our son a few months ago.
This is the Harvard quote. That Harvard dean, who's the senior author, is a witness to a plaintiff for a case involving acetaminophen during pregnancy and autism. High fever kills you? True. Body naturally, not generally, that's very rare, but that is true. Your body can kill you while fighting off an infection. True, actually. Dr. Mike, the good one, says the fever thing too. Oh. I don't think I've ever heard Dr. Mike say something that was like completely wrong and retarded medically. So if Dr. Mike said it, I'd probably just believe it outright. I think basically everything he says seems to be pretty true. I believe. So okay, so maybe delay, or maybe taking fever reducing things maybe can extend an illness a little bit. What did he say? What was his quote? I thought he said it provided a causal link. The title of this is Using Acetaminophen During Pregnancy May Increase Children's Autism and ADHD Risk. Senior author on this. Oh, this is that review, isn't it? Evaluation of the evidence on acetaminophen use in neurodevelopmental disorders using the navigation guide methodology. This methodology, this navigation guide thing, this is a lit review, I think, right? They're basically going over literature, then they're trying to come up with some assessment afterwards. This is so retarded, this isn't a study. I mean, a lit review counts as a study, I would say, right? So does a meta-analysis. But my understanding is that this lit review stands in contrast to like the larger studies in the field, that when you start analyzing like siblings, I think were the big one, that it seems like this link between like evaluation of the evidence of acetaminophen use and oh wait, this was the same thing. Hold on. What was the other one? I haven't dug in and read the studies on this, so I don't have like super strong feelings on it, other than slightly leaning against it, and the fact that RFK lies about almost everything medically related would make me lean against it by default. But this is from 2024, was when it was published. In this population-based study, models without sibling controls identified marginally increased risks of autism and attention deficit/hyperactivity disorder associated with acetamine use during pregnancy. However, analyses of matched full sibling pairs found no evidence of increased risk of autism, ADHD, or intellectual disability associated with acetaminophen use. This suggests that associations observed in other models may have been attributable to confounding variables. I don't know about this guy being the witness on a case either, expert witness. That seems to be a weird, but well, if he is, that would be listed in the conflict of interest section, right? Dr. Bagarelli served as an expert witness for the plaintiff's legal team on matters of general causation involving acetaminophen use during pregnancy and its potential links to neurodevelopmental disorders. This involvement may be perceived as a conflict of interest regarding the information presented in this paper on acetaminophen and neurodevelopmental outcomes. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean it's wrong, but yeah. That autism, the original autism paper and vaccines, like sprung up because of a different, or because of the same type of thing, where a guy who was an expert witness on a case was also like soliciting for patients to figure out if autism and vaccines were, yeah.
Pushed her to take acetaminophen for a low-grade fever. She said no, and then they looked to me and I said, absolutely no. I'm also here to announce good news. Today, the FDA is filing a Federal Register notice to change the label on an exciting treatment called prescription leucovorin so that it can be available to children with autism. You know, autism may also be due to an autoimmune reaction to a folate receptor on the brain, not allowing that important vitamin to get into the brain cells. It's a fairly established, mature pathway. Again, we have a duty to let doctors and the public know. We are going to change the label to make it available. Hundreds of thousands of kids, in my opinion, will benefit. One study found that with kids with autism and chronic folate deficiency, 2/3 of kids with autism symptoms had improvement, and some marked improvement. Mr. President, you told us to do what's medically right, to go bold, and not worry about the corporations and the lobbyists. So that's what we're here doing today. Thank you, Mr. President.
Because of that, in historic fashion, in a very accelerated manner, we have a response today to the autism crisis. It is the first of several chapters, but this is breaking news. You've heard some of it. The response to the autism crisis is going to continue to come to you under Secretary Kennedy's leadership, and the President wouldn't have it any other way, as you've heard. The FDA, based on NIH research, is approving prescription leucovorin for treatment of autistic children.
Like, are they circumventing the ordinary process, or what does he mean here? I thought conservatives hated these rushed things. Or did this legitimately just hit FDA approval? I should be able to find, like, the trialing on this, right? Like, this should be through, like, phase 3 trials. The U.S. Food and Drug Administration today initiated the approval of leucovorin calcium tablets for patients with cerebral folate deficiency, a neurological condition that affects folate, a vitamin essential for brain health, transport into the brain. Individuals with cerebral folate deficiency have been observed to have neurodevelopmental delays with autistic features, seizures, and problems with movement and coordination. The FDA has conducted a systematic analysis of literature published between 2009 and 2024, including published case reports with patient-level information.
I've listened to you. I've gotten to know you for a while, and I think you're a pedophile.
I think that the best positions that you can find, they usually result
all the same.
True. Yeah.
So, right. So yeah. Your position is, as I understand it, that the APA is saying that it's not a mental disorder now, and you are adopting their stance because we need to have a central the definition agency of some kind.
Sure.
That we use diagnoses as, I guess, for their utility, and so there's no utility in calling it a mental illness. We use definitions of words for their utility, so there's utility in calling trans women women.
I don't know if I defend that one, but it depends on the conversation I've had, I guess. But yeah, I feel like that's a big muddying of the waters. I don't like it when people.
You don't like the semantics.
Well, because if trans women are women, it seems like we're erasing a lot of the problems that trans people have, and it's just kind of a nonsense statement because, well, if we have the term trans women and they're women, it's trying to say, like, it's trying to get rid of, like, all of the gender disparity between trans women and just to bring them all, have them all be treated the same. But for some reasons that can't be true, and then it also is just like a very, like, muddying the water statement. I just don't like
it. Makes it so you can no longer talk about trans issues.
Kind of, yeah.
If it's literally the truth, then there's no way to talk about trans women because they don't exist anymore.
Yeah, kind of. And everybody obviously, well, if trans women are women, then why do trans women have any problems? They're just women, right? But obviously there's more to it than that. I just think it's a really reductive, silly statement, but I don't know how important that is to this conversation.
And I remember him saying that if you were in the 60s when the DSM was saying that being gay was a mental illness, then you would have agreed. Then.
If I was in the 60s. Hey, whoa, guys, whoa. If you're on YouTube right now, we're trying desperately, okay? August is getting fired if I don't hit 400,000 subs by the 1st. So if you like August editing, if you like my editor, okay, you better subscribe and hit the bell, okay? I need 4,000 subs, guys, in 10 days. All right? 10 days. Can you guys do it? Can you handle it?
Based on the way you're saying, like, the APA decides, and I accept their definition.
So there's two parts to this. So one, if I'm being intellectually honest, like, it's kind of like asking me, like, well, in the 1700s, would you have been racist? I mean, like, honestly, probably, right? It would be nice. It's like, well, no, I think I stand as a beacon of, like, objective morality. I don't believe in any kind of relativism. I think that I would be able to make these moral statements regardless of time and place. But I'm going to be a slave to the times at some point.
Okay, but if you knew what you knew now in the 60s, you'd say being gay is wrong.
No, I don't think so. So,
sorry, you'd say being gay is not wrong.
I understand what you're saying. So, I think that the APA statement on whether or not being a trans person is an illness in and of itself, I think is consistent with how we define what an illness is in terms of, like, a mental illness, and then how we deal with a mental illness. So to expand on that, if you are simply a trans person, you don't necessarily have any negative aspects of that influencing your life. So, like, I think the big ones are usually, like, are you able to maintain relationships? Are you able to work a job? Do you take care of yourself? Can you maintain a schedule? Like, things like this to see if, like, is this like an illness? Is this affecting you in a negative way? Now, going by those criteria, I don't know why homosexuality or gayness was ever considered a mental illness. I'd have to go back and look at, like, at why the AMA or the APA, I guess, did it. But yeah, that's all right.
I guess I think that we define mental illnesses when you're acting in a way the rest of us don't like. And if you're acting in a way, so it's say like narcissistic personality disorder. So you could be likable, you could be a bit of an asshole, you could be a supreme asshole, and then you can be, you know what, the people in your life are so horrified by you that I don't know any of them. I'm just your, clinician. I'm going to diagnose you with a personality disorder. I'm saying that I can't stand you. They can't stand you. Society dislikes you so much that we're going to slap the disorder label on you. And so I think it makes more sense if you go back to when gay people, the idea of your child being gay is like a life-ruining nightmare and you're ostracized from your community, then it makes more sense to use the mental illness label then. It's this kind of like tension between how do you want to act and how do other people want you to act. Just like exhibitionism.
Mm-hmm.
If you walk around naked now in public, you've got a disorder. But if you walk around in like a bikini top now here, you don't. But if you met a girl who isn't like some predominantly Muslim country where you're going to get killed for walking around in a bikini top and she's still doing it, then I think it's fair to slap her with the disorder label.
I think that this is. I think I can agree with this as like a second order removed from what we're talking about. So
I'm gonna connect it.
Okay, yeah, sure. I'll like. I don't fully agree, but I'll tentatively agree. And I'll see where we're going with it. Go for it.
It's not a trap.
Oh no, I'm not saying it's a trap, but if I say I agree now and then you say something later that builds on this,
I'm not gonna do that.
Oh no, yeah, I'm not trying to like a debate. I'm just saying like I'll agree because I'll see where we're going, but like I don't want to come back and disagree with this because it sounds like I don't like something you say later. My main issue is I guess when you paraphrase it as like or when you summarize it as like we say things are disorders if you act in ways that people don't like. I don't think that's necessarily true. For instance, if you're an asshole, if you're just like a jerk to people, we don't necessarily call that a disorder.
I think if you're an asshole to a certain extent, we do.
I don't know if that's the case. Some people like really mean. They're just really mean people.
Well, if I come into your office and I say I'm divorced and I started going to therapy right after I got divorced. So if I come in and I say I got divorced because my wife is a bitch, and then you say okay, yeah, maybe she is, maybe you're mad, whatever, and then I say I lost my job because my boss is an asshole, and then I say I got kicked out of my apartment building because my neighbor is an asshole. I think eventually the gears start turning and you're like, okay, I think there's something wrong with you. Definitionally, if you can't maintain a job, you can't maintain your home, you can't maintain family connections, at a certain point, you're going to say, well, listen, you've got a disorder. You need treatment. You need to change. And partly it's that you're saying these other people shouldn't have to change or they don't want to change or I don't think there's particularly anything wrong with them. And partly it's you saying they're not going to change. So even if you're right, lots of people are assholes, but you still, to be like a successful and moderately, happy person, like functional person, you have to kind of learn to get along with them.
Yeah, I think this is getting closer to something that I generally would agree with, yeah.
Okay, so I think...
can I give one caveat and then we'll move on from there?
Yeah.
So the one caveat I would say is that, earlier you said something that I said that is true, that I think a diagnosis only should exist to yield a utility to it. So diagnosing somebody as something that we can't change or we can't help or whatever doesn't seem to be very valuable. So if there is a society, for instance, let's say theoretically, and I don't know if this is 100% true, but let's say that your sexuality is like an immutable, unchangeable characteristic. Once you're like, we'll say 10 years old. Like if you're gay, you're gay. If you're straight, you're straight. And then boom. If there is like a society that is massively homophobic, but if like being gay is something that there is no treatment for, it seems pointless to change, to diagnose that as an illness. And rather it seems like the society should probably move in a certain direction to be more accommodating to that person. But if there is something that is, I'll say either one, if it's harmful to other people, or two, if it is something that can change, then we can diagnose that problem and say, well, we should try to change this because it's either something that could be changed and it's causing you a lot of friction in your life, or it's harmful to other people. And even if it is immutable, we still need to do something to contain it or treat it. So maybe it can depend on something. Okay, go ahead.
I see what you're saying, but I think that most... Okay, I would say there's not most. There's a lot of mental illnesses that are not treatable.
I'm going to try to be really clear with our language. When you say mental illness, are you referring specifically like personality disorders or
schizophrenia?
Okay. So, fuck, I have to look this up. So just I'm using particular language because some things are considered like I don't know if personality disorders are treatable. I think they're manageable, but I don't know if you can change somebody's personality. Schizophrenia is treatable with medication, but sure. But go ahead.
My point is that even if it's not treatable or if it is treatable or whatever, I don't quite agree with you that is the like hinging like factor that determines whether we label something an illness. Even if whether it's treatable or not, I still think there's utility in labeling someone as this person's going to act this way, and we need to understand that. So like pedophilia.
Mm-hmm.
If someone's a pedophile, I imagine there are people who have been cured, and I imagine there are people who won't and can't.
Mm-hmm.
And I think either way, it's worth, at least in the therapist's office, saying, hey, I've listened to you, I've gotten to know you for a while, and I think you're a pedophile. And here's what this means. Here's my advice to you going forward, and here's how I think you should manage this. Here's how I think we as a society should manage this. I think there is still a utility in labeling somebody, even if it's not treatable.
Okay, we'll get to that, I guess, in the conversation. Go for it. I don't know if I necessarily agree with that. I don't necessarily disagree, but I guess we'll see where this comes up. Yeah.
Okay. And pedophilia is another good example of you're behaving in a way that the rest of us just really don't like,
mm-hmm.
and it doesn't work, like societally, and so we need to slap a label on it. Whereas in the past, when the age of consent was like much lower in the early teens, then I don't think it was considered a mental disorder. It was probably considered more of an asshole thing. Like that guy, like, yeah, you want to keep him away from your niece, he's a weirdo.
Mm-hmm.
So if you, okay, so if you're gay and you live in one of those places where they kill you if you're gay, I guess I think that the idea that being gay is this immutable, your sexuality is this unchangeable core piece of your identity is not quite true. I think that is somewhat of a bulwark against the societal pressure that you're talking about. I think that narrative gets pushed for good reason to tell people, like, fuck off. Like, stop with the conversion therapy. Stop trying to make us conform. We don't want to. And then in response, the rest of society has kind of said, okay, you know what? It's actually not that big of a deal. I don't hate that you're gay now. I don't hate that you are, you're not going to get married the way I want you to, or have kids the way I want you to, or whatever. And so then the tension is kind of diffused, and then it doesn't have to be labeled a mental illness. But I think telling people, and I think this is kind of what trans people are trying to do, and trans rights activists, is say, this is just happening. You can't change it. You can't affect it. It's just who they are. Just accept it, stop, let it go, and then try to defuse the tension on society's end.
Okay, I think I largely agree with that, yeah.
Okay. And so what I've come to in thinking about this and talking about it a lot is that I don't want to. It's not transphobia, but it's like you're asking, maybe it is, but it's like you're asking me to change the way gay people asked people to change, like, well, just change your idea of what a normal life is. Change your idea of what a family is. Change your ideas about religion and sin and whatever,
mm-hmm.
until they make room for us. And like, I think probably people were like, well, yeah, I'm not actually that attached to those ideas. I don't really care as much as I thought I did, or as much as my grandparents did. And they're dead, so fuck it. Yeah, being gay is fine. It's not a sin. Whatever. And like when you see Christians get asked about this, they're like, yeah, it's fine. I don't care. It's not my place to judge. I don't know. And just the completely abandon like Christianity's kind of earlier core stances of like what you're supposed to do as a Christian. They're just like, wait, it's fine, because they just don't care. But I do. About this one, I do care. It bothers me. And on top of that, I don't think it's the same. I think we're capitulating to trans people. I don't think that I don't think trans people need to be told yes all the time. And I don't think that's good for them. I don't think it's good for society. And I think my problem kind of overall with liberals lately is that they have a really hard time saying no. And I kind of think of it the same way I think of Black Lives Matter, where I went to a Black Lives Matter protest, which felt more like an Antifa protest based just like on the dress and the demographics of the people there, but like no one self-identifies as Antifa, or no one I talked to would. They also there with Black Lives Matter, and they were chanting Black Lives Matter, and then they started chanting Trans Lives Matter. In the middle of like their chant, who were like marching to a police station, and I kept looking at the black people there, being like, what do you think of this? What are you thinking when the crowd starts chanting Trans Lives Matter in the middle of this? I'm like, why? I just feel like nobody puts their foot down and says like, hey, your protests are good, but stop rioting. And with trans people, like, yeah, put on a dress and change your name and ask people to talk about you differently. I think that's all fine. Like, live the way you want to live, but once it starts to feel oppressive to other people, I think you have to understand that there has to be a point where other people have to say no. And I think conservatives are a bit too harsh and unkind in the way they say no, which I definitely picked up on in like the debate I listened to. But I think liberals are way too permissive.
Okay.
Possibly including you.
I'm gonna try to re-summarize everything you just said, and you tell me if you feel like it's an accurate summation of what you said, okay?
Okay.
So, you feel like sometimes when it comes to social progress, the left will kind of push on things and basically ask for the other side to capitulate, to give in, and say like, okay, that's okay, that's okay, that's okay. And you think that over time, it's happened on some topics, so like homosexuality, where they don't really care that much, or they didn't care as much as their grandparents, so they're like, okay, fine, this is fine. But you feel like at some point, it flies off the rails a little bit too much, and you're getting to a point where it's like, okay, well, the sky is green, and you need to acknowledge that. And at some point, you're like, okay, well, hold on, it's going too far now, and I feel like we need to ground ourselves a little bit better, or this is something that I'm not willing to concede to. And you're drawing your line somewhere around this trans issue, essentially, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
And so I guess that splits it up into two things, which is like one is that I want people to be able to say no gracefully without getting canceled, and I think you agree with that. Just to be allowed to be like, you know what, I don't want to go along with this. I don't like it, and I'm not going to participate. And then the other is like, are they right? Am I right to want to say no, specifically about trans people? I also don't want to say that I don't think society has to change. I think that we treat people really badly based on their gender. I think we body shame people. I think we do a lot of things to children that are causing them to have gender dysphoria. And that we should stop doing that. So I'm not saying that society doesn't need to change. I just don't think it needs to change in the sense of, okay, trans women are women. We're going to stop you. We're going to say pregnant people instead of pregnant women because we don't want to upset trans people. We're going to start saying that sex is non-binary and that it's a spectrum. And those I see as capitulation out of fear of the mob rather than progress that's actually going to help anybody.
Okay. So I think as we go further into this, I'm probably not going to agree with any of your broader statements here. I think the area of disagreement is probably going to be in the particulars of like, where do we draw the line? Is probably going to be, and then we can go over like, how do we feel like we draw these lines, or where do we figure we draw these lines, I guess.
Yeah. Okay.
you want me to? Do you want me to take it up there, I guess, or?
Yeah.
Okay, sure. So, for hypothetical sake, if I follow your argument and if I said that I agree, theoretically, at one point, I'm going to broadly say the left and the right. We know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
The left is going to say something like brick and plastic are the same thing, and you have to agree with that. And at some point, I'm going to be like, okay, this is too much. I can't do that, right? There's going to be some line that even I would draw there. I would admit that. And actually, I can use a real world example. I don't know if you've ever heard of like neo-pronouns or like the 15 million other like autism, gender, and stuff like that. That's being like my line is there. I just don't. I'm not in favor of that.
Okay, so you agree with it? You agree with me that there's a dynamic of the left annexing,
moving further and further,
and that it is not dictated by science or logic. It is dictated by. I'm not sure what's pushing it, but
I think it uses science and logic as like a springboard, and then it kind of jumps off into other things. Yeah. So,
but that's not the engine.
No, yeah, I agree with that. So I think the problem of what's happened is, this isn't even related to this topic really, but I think the problem that's happened is that as we become more and more polarized as a society, the problem isn't that the left has gotten more left and the right has gotten more right. I think the problem is that there is no more conversation that happens between these two sides. And in my opinion, this is going to sound like an Omega fence sitter take, but I think that the best positions that you can find are usually, they usually resolve or result from tension from both sides. Some natural tension there. Have you ever played a game called Eve?
No.
Okay.
But I know what it is.
I learned this while running a really big corporation in that game, that if I ever want to have somebody that advocates for something, even if I agree with them, I always want somebody advocating on the other end. I always want somebody pushing on the other end, because there might be something that I'm overlooking. Like, this might be a good idea, but maybe there are a couple things we should keep in mind, or maybe there's like a reason why we should do it a little bit differently. That natural tension is really important. And as soon as that tension disappears, it's like a rubber band that snaps. It's not that it disappears and then this side gets more extreme. It's that it disappears and this side is gone into like, we went from arguing like trans people are real because we can look at scans in the brain and we can see a difference, to now you can identify as wall gender, and that's actually legitimate identification because all self-ID is valid and you can be anything you want to be, and anybody that tells you differently is trans is like, what the fuck?
Right.
I agree that happens. The problems that I have, though, is that as much as I will rally against kind of the left for how insanely off they've gone, I can't really look to the right for good answers, because on that side, they seem to reject the science related to trans people. That there is like this, I wish I could remember it, some base part of the brain or the brainstem, like you can measure these parts, and in trans women, so men who identify as women, they will have like these parts in their brain that resemble that of cisgender women, where it's like, holy shit, there's like, you're actually getting brain structures that are matching. Now, whether that's due to biology and genetics or whether that's due to some early formative experience, it's hard to say. We don't know that.
Well, that's the thing, is that it's hard to say what that means.
For sure.
If you, so in my video about this, I looked at similar articles that have been written about the brains of criminals have similar structures. The brains of artists have similar structures. So if you get a bunch of people who are acting similarly, and trans women often do act like women, it's a bit tautological to say they act similarly and their brains are similarly shaped, so therefore they have artist brains, or they have criminal brains, or they have woman brains. That doesn't necessarily mean that.
Well, it could mean that, but we don't necessarily know why they are that way, maybe. Or maybe you're saying that you could find other brains that fit a similar profile, but they don't have those characteristics.
I guess I'm saying the framing is the problem is in the framing of where, like, when they looked at the brains of criminals, they didn't say we're trying to identify who has a crime brain. And so these criminals have similar structures. Those are crime brains. So now anyone who has a brain with that structure also has a crime brain. That framing would be weird, but we accept it more when we're saying, oh, we're looking for female brains, because we just accept that there is a thing that is like a female brain beyond a brain literally that is, has XX chromosomes. We accept in the formulation of the question that there is such a thing. But if you switch it to a different topic, it becomes more obvious that the labeling in itself is where like the leap is being made.
I mean, possibly, but I mean, we can agree that like you would agree that there are female bodies, I imagine, right, and male bodies.
Oh yeah.
So there can probably it's not a huge jump to say that there are probably female brains and male brains, right?
Well, I would say that the brain is part of the body.
Of course.
I don't differentiate between the brain and the body. This is another problem.
Sure. Well, I'm just. What I'm saying is that, like, externally, there are clearly male bodies and female bodies. So internally, there are probably also clearly male bodies and female bodies. Whether we're talking about,
I think this is a bunch of horse shit.
Wait, which part?
I mean, all of it. You know why? Because if you saw a trans person, a trans woman, and they're like, I'm a woman, but in a male body, and their brain was identical to Arnold Schwarzenegger's brain, the most male brain that we have. You wouldn't say, well, no, actually, according to your brain scan, you're not trans. So I don't think it actually matters. That again, this just feels like
sure. So
it feels like the end. That
I understand. I know exactly what you're gonna say. Okay, so I don't know what you've heard about me, or if you've only seen my one argument, you might think that I'm a certain way. So this conversation might be very not as much fun for you. I'm not going to be like as crazy far left as 99% of people that talk about this are. So
no, that's why I want to talk to you. I know this. I know this about you.
I will tell you that what you're saying is true, and I will say a controversial and cancelable statement that there probably are some trans people that aren't trans. They're probably confused or they have other issues and they don't realize it. Just playing a numbers game, there must be. And I will also say
that aren't straight.
Sure,
gay people
for
that
sure.
Aren't gay. There's been you don't.
In a certain way. So this kind of
the end.
I don't know what you've heard about me or fun for you. I'm not going to be like.
That's why I want to talk to you. I know this. I know this about you.
I will tell you that what you're saying is true, and I will say a controversial and cancelable statement that there probably are some trans people that aren't trans. They're probably confused or they have other issues and they don't realize it. Just playing a numbers game, there must be. And I will also say
that aren't straight.
Sure,
there's gay people
for
that
sure.
Aren't gay. There's been you can't decide what you are.
Yeah, and I'll also say there probably would be some people that if you showed them, let's say there was a 100% conclusive, this is what a trans brain looks like, that there would be a large section of people on the left that would say, well, just because they don't have a trans brain doesn't mean you say they can't be trans. If they want to self-ID some way, they can. Sure. So I'll make all those concessions to you, but let me just, on the end of this, I'll make all those concessions to you, but on the end of this, unfortunately, it's not really possible to it's a good thought experiment, but it's not really possible in the real world to attack somebody on this front because we don't usually scan people's brains till they're dead. Like we can't like cut them open to see for
I don't want to attack anybody. I'm just saying I'm making a point that the engine of progress, science is a thing they put on the front of it that makes it break through shit more easily. But if you take the thing off, it'll keep going. It doesn't matter. And so this is what I'm saying, like I'm not like a psychologist. I have a degree in psychology and I've looked at a lot of studies enough so that I can look at the stuff you're talking about and say like this doesn't make sense to me, at least. I can't objectively say it doesn't make sense. But it doesn't make sense to me for this reason, in that if hypothetically we know that if we take a trans person who every other measurement they're trans, and then say, oh, but actually your brain your brain does match your body physically, that's not going to make them think they're not trans. It's not going to make their therapist think they're not trans, and it's not going to make liberals think they're not trans. So effectively, it doesn't really matter. Like it's some evidence, but it just feels like that's not the point, and that's not what they care about.
Yeah, so there are two separate conversations here, and I enjoy both of them, and we can have either one you want. But the first one is kind of like the fact of the matter about trans people. Are they real, or how should you treat them? And the
I don't
other
think we
one,
should talk about that.
Sure. It's an interesting conversation. But the second one is kind of the meta-narrative around trans people, or I guess we could just say the narrative around trans people, which is if scientific evidence were to come out to the contrary about some of our ideas related to trans people, would people on the left be accepting of that scientific information? And I would
No.
probably largely agree with you that the answer would probably be no. That would be my guess.
And I'll even go as far as to say that if scientific evidence comes out in support of the left's narrative of trans people, it would not affect my narrative. So I don't know.
Wait, why not? Or what do you mean by that? Which part of your narrative?
That a male brain. Okay, my narrative is a male brain is a brain that's in a male body. There is no. To me, this is fundamentally a religious concept that you can be in the wrong body. I believe that you are your body. No one's in the wrong body. And we're all uncomfortable in our bodies. No one likes being in their body.
I like
It's
being
a
in my
death
body.
sentence.
Oh, okay,
well,
that sucks.
You
I
do
guess.
now, but at some point you won't like being in your body.
Sure, like when I'm playing League of Legends. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. No, as you get older, or things go wrong, or you get diseases, or you break things, or things get cut off, or whatever, you'll start to feel like, oh, this isn't really me. And I think that kind of dysmorphia is a universal experience that everybody has. Everybody pictures themselves slightly different from how they actually are, and then trans people picture themselves very differently from how they actually are. But I don't see that as a particularly unique experience.
So something I'm curious about, are you familiar with the term intersex?
Yes.
How do you view these people then? Are they just both, or
they're neither? Yeah, they're intersex. So yeah, there's another problem I have. Everybody has to be male or female, and I'm like, no, a lot of people are neither.
Well, but I mean, there's still the binary. It's not like intersex people have genitals that are like alien genitals or something, right? Like they're still somewhere on that. They're sexually dimorphic. They're still on that male to female line.
Yeah, they're somewhere in between. Yeah.
So, okay, I'm trying to epistemically now. I'm trying to understand.
Trans people, a trans woman does not say hey, I know I'm supposed to be a man, but I think I'm a little female. They say I am 100% female. I am just as female as whoever, as any woman. So I don't see how intersex. I see you're trying to get at finding the rough edges of my sharp definitions, but I don't think that it's in terms of trans people and the narrative about them, that is not part of it. Liberals are not saying trans women are a little bit more female. They're saying they're women.
Sure, that gets into different areas. So I just kind of want to focus on this. So,
Okay.
Let's say I'm just curious. I'll lay big hypotheticals. Okay? Let's say that hypothetically we discovered there was a region of the brain, and it literally has an M or an F printed on it. This is deep inside your pituitary gland, or I don't know. So it's in there, okay? And they find this, and then they start running tests on dead trans people. And they start seeing, oh my God, 99% of trans women have the F stamp in their brain, even though they were born with a penis and all that. And trans men all have the M stamp, even though they were born with vaginas and ovaries and all that.
Yeah.
At that point, would you stop and be like, okay, maybe female brains that expect female bodies can be born into male bodies? Or how do you view that? What does that look like in your understanding of the world, I guess?
Okay, so you're saying 100% correlation, and it is literally labeled,
or a 99%. But basically, that we've absolutely determined there's some part in the brain that determines what you feel like your sex should be. Yeah.
I don't.
Were you about to say you don't think that any part of your brain determines how you should feel as a sex?
Yeah, I don't agree with that. But you're asking me to accept it as the hypothetical. So my last question is. Have we determined that this is a brain scan from birth? We're scanning babies, and then after they die, we see they were trans throughout their whole life, but the baby's brain, it was always there.
Yeah, I'm just trying to say that's a scientific fact. Do you still accept it under the basis of science, or is there some?
No, that would be pretty compelling, I have to say. That's
okay. I'm just because you mentioned the religion thing, so I don't know how if epistemically you're valuing faith-based arguments more so than some sort of falsifiable scientific arguments. I'm just curious on that. We're a long ways from what I just said. That hypothetical. I understand that's not the world we live in today. We don't have that information, of course.
Yes.
Right?
So if we had that, then I would say I was wrong.
Sure. Okay.
That's pretty strong evidence. But yeah, the reason I'm saying it's religious is just the idea of being in a body.
Gotcha. Okay. So then I guess what we're basically at is you and I both exist in a world where, if we're being intellectually honest, neither of us has the answer 100%. I can't tell you that, like, well, trans people are, of course, real and scientifically and biologically, like, immutable, unchangeable, like this, something, right? And then, if you're being honest, I don't think you can say, oh, well, for sure, there's no such thing as a trans person. They just need to be, like, changed a little bit when they're a child.
I'm pretty
right?
sure.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure.
You're pretty sure.
I feel very sure.
So how?
I don't have. Well, I can't prove that it's not there. I can't prove that there is no M or F stamp. But I'm sure.
So then my question is going to be, so I believe that external validation is really important. Like, I need to be able to.
I talked to my girlfriend out of taking testosterone when we first met.
Okay. Yeah, were we going somewhere with that?
Yeah, she said I'm thinking of starting a low dose of testosterone. I'm non-binary. I want you to use this nickname for me. I want you to use. Oh, this is her on my shirt. I want you to use they them pronouns. And I was like, no, I'm not doing that shit. I said, you hate women, and that's fine, but don't expect me to participate in your self-hating misogyny. You can hate yourself. You can hate your body. And I feel like, maybe you haven't had the kind of like freedom to do that. It's okay. You can hate your body. We can still date. You can hate your body. You can hate it every single time I say your name, but don't take testosterone. And I'm not going to call you names. I'm not going to call you by your masculine nickname, and I'm not going to call you you're a girl. And she was like, I want to be referred to as your partner, not your girlfriend. This was like maybe 2 weeks after we started dating. And I was like, no, I don't want a partner. I want a girlfriend. You're my girlfriend. I'm not doing this.
Okay. So I understand the story, but I don't know if I can go or what. So are you trying to say that, like, by doing this, you think you talked somebody out of being trans, so they weren't really trans, so you're kind of like extrapolating this to trans people in general, or?
I guess I'm saying in my experience is that you can talk people out of being trans by making room for them as they are.
Do you think that it might be possible that and I'll concede, I'll say that there probably are some people that think they're trans, but they're having a different type of experience they haven't identified yet. But there might also be some people that are trans that there is no other experience, like they're never going to feel comfortable with their sex or gender. Do you think that's possible?
No, because I think that's kind of a definitional thing. Like, if someone is you don't have to be comfortable with your body. Like, I don't think that means that you should be in another body. I think it just means you hate your body. And, like, hating your body is pretty normal. Lots of people hate their body. I think of trans people the same way I think of, like, women who get breast implants. They feel that their boobs just should be bigger. And so they go make them bigger. And then they either feel better or they don't feel better. But there's no word for it, though. And, like, I don't think we need a word for this. As like an identity. It's not an identity to want your boobs to be bigger. You just want them.
Do you think? Yeah, go ahead.
Go ahead. No, I was gonna say giving it a word and a name. It just protects it. It's like I just see a trans person as someone who walks into a therapist's office and says, "Doc, I want to be a girl," and they have figured out. And this is understandable. I don't blame trans people for any of this. How to get more and more people to say that they are the gender they want to be said that they are. Give them what they want, which is hormones and surgery and acceptance. And I think they should have acceptance. I don't agree with giving trans people hormones and surgery. And it's just like no one will say no.
Do you think that it's possible? Or here's a question: do you think that there's any like internal experience of being a gender? Or maybe a more personal question, like if you were to wake up tomorrow as a woman with boobs and a vagina and you had a woman's body or whatever, would you be like okay with that? Or
I'd be okay with it, but I'm a freak, so I don't think that.
Do you think a lot of people have internal experiences related to their agenda? Did I say agenda? Or I mean gender. I don't know what I said. Sorry. I saw you choking on your water. I got distracted.
Agenda. I'm gonna choke for another second. So say it again.
Go for it. Do you think that people have an experience, an internal experience of a gender that's like unique from your other, like, oh, like I'm a gamer, I'm an American, blah blah blah? Do you think people have an experience like I am a man or I'm a woman, and that's a strong internal experience that I have?
Yeah, but I think it's all socialized mostly. Like the experience of being a woman in Beverly Hills is very different from the experience of being a woman in like Afghanistan.
Sure.
Like to the point where they're calling them the same gender, it almost doesn't even make sense.
Do you think that even if the experience is socialized, it's still a pretty real and powerful thing, right?
Yeah. I think your gender is your experience of how you and others perceive the sexuality of your body. So yeah, even if it's socialized, it's still very powerful and
so for
real to an extent.
You said something earlier that I kind of agree with a little bit. It's a little controversial, but like I'm willing to bet that there are at least parts of our sexual orientations that are at least somewhat socially developed.
If I had to be gay, I could be gay.
Okay.
If you're gonna put a gun to my head, say you're gonna kill me,
to be clear, there's a difference.
Woman,
well, hold on, wait. To be clear, there's a big difference between like having sex to save your life versus a genuine attraction to the male body, right?
I don't know.
Okay, well here, let me. Okay, wait, that was a rhetorical question. There absolutely is, right? When you see,
I don't know.
Sure. Okay. Well, let me explain then. If you see, or I'm assuming actually, and I could be wrong. If any of these don't match up with your experience, it's fine. But if you see certain things of a female body, there's like an innate sexual attraction to that. So like nice boobies, nice booties. Like these are things that as a male, typically you see it, you're like, wow, I'm getting horny because I'm seeing things that are like, wow.
Yeah. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
There's a difference between that versus like,
go on.
If you're gonna make me fuck a woman, I can do it. Versus like just seeing.
But don't you sometimes feel like that?
Sure, but it's a different kind of thing. It's a different thing.
But sometimes aren't you just you're like fine.
Yeah, but like there's still like a difference between I am innately sexually excited by this particular trait versus like...
The difference has eroded for me as time has gone on. I remember being like 12 and people being like, Keanu Reeves is very handsome. And me being like, I don't even know what you mean. I can't tell the difference between a handsome man and a non-handsome man. I don't know why people are like really like Pierce Brosnan is attractive or Sean Connery. That was really confusing when people were like, Sean Connery, he was the best Bond because he was so sexy. And I was like, how is Sean Connery sexy? I don't understand. That's confusing to me. And then like as I went through my teens, I was like, oh yeah, I would go down on Keanu Reeves. I didn't know that about myself. But the more I thought about it, and the more it's like, I get it. Okay, so I've definitely become gayer as exposure to like other people's sense of who's attractive has definitely made me gayer.
Okay. So we believe that we can socialize, or you believe that you can socialize like a sexual attraction, right? Which I think I can kind of agree with. But like,
it's probably easier to socialize it into existence than out of existence.
Yeah, possibly, yeah, sure. So we can agree that we can socialize it, but I'm trying to get us on the same ground that we both acknowledge that there is some underlying real thing that's happening there. It's not like a sexual attraction is like any arbitrary, like, oh, tomorrow I'm just going to be sexually attracted to a woman's forehead. There's a difference between like these sexual body parts that we've either been socialized to find sexual, or like things that are just innately, like booties and boobies seem to be attractive to universally to men, right?
Yeah, well, whatever it is, it's big and requires a lot of inertia to move it, if it's movable at all.
Sure. So I guess what I'm trying to get at is that, like, if we can have like these innate feelings that leave us attracted to what I would say are secondary sexual characteristics, so the things that our bodies tend to develop when we're in puberty, if we can have like an innate attraction to these things, could we not also have, and when I say innate, I don't mean like unchangeable gender, I just mean innate,
you
like
mean
it's a very deeply, very huge part of us. Yeah.
Strong, yeah.
If we can have those kind of innate experiences, could we not also have an innate like experience of our gender that's also equally like very difficult to move, or maybe even impossible at a certain point in life?
Like an innate attachment to having those body parts rather than being attracted to them.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. I think if it were easy to move, if we could talk trans people out of being trans, we would just do it.
Or it would have been done by now, or even.
Well,
yeah, go ahead.
Except I think I have done it. So I'm gonna say, if we could easily do it, I might just be good at it. I don't know.
Do you think there's a possibility that the person that you talked out of it might not have actually been having a trans experience, but we're just a little bit like confused about like their gender and everything?
No. I think that's tautological. You're saying if someone can be talked out of being trans and they weren't really trans, so then we're defining trans as you can't be talked out of it. And then I'm like, okay, if that's your definition of trans, then there's no point in trying to treat trans people in that way, where not conversion therapy, but like.
So I don't necessarily think it's tautological. So let's say that I've got a guy on the ground, and he's in extreme pain, and I'm like, sir, you need to get up, we need to move, and he's like, I can't, my pelvis is broken, and I'm like, listen to me, look at me, okay? You're gonna get up, you're gonna start walking, okay? We're gonna get out of this burning building, okay? Now either one, his pelvis is broken, in which case he's never standing up, or two, he just has like a bad tear or a bruise or muscle is hurting, and he does get up and he walks away. Just because I was able to say, okay, this guy didn't actually have a broken pelvis, doesn't mean that broken pelvises aren't real. It just means that for some people, maybe you can talk them through some pain because something isn't actually broken or fractured or destroyed. So I wouldn't say that it's tautological that a person that you can talk out of being trans, like, oh, well, you're just saying that every person you talk out of being trans was ever trans, so you're kind of like committing it.
That's not the part that's tautological. If the pelvis is broken, it's broken, and a person with a broken pelvis can't walk.
Yeah.
That's the tautological part, where you're saying that being trans is the same as having a broken pelvis, and accepting your body to some functional degree is the same as walking. And I'm saying that's what we're arguing about. That's our central disagreement, is that I don't agree with that. I agree a person with a broken pelvis can't walk. I don't agree that someone who is trans can't desist.
Yeah, I guess so I guess maybe we have to build out this a little more. So I'm working on a lot of like how would I say this? If somebody comes up to me and they say like, hey, I've got a way to make a quick, easy $1 million, I'm instantly skeptical for like a million different reasons. Okay, well, if you knew how to do this, you'd already be doing it. Why are you coming to me? What are the chances that I'm the first person you report? Like, it doesn't sound real, right? I try to look like, where are the motivations at? So for trans people, I see that these people have a very high rate of suicide compared to the normal society, and I see that even the ones that aren't suicidal tend to be fucking miserable in a lot of different ways. They have a huge problem integrating in society. They have huge problems with themselves. It's also often paired with other mental illnesses, like not good. So if it was possible that a conversation or two or three could talk a person out of being trans, it seems so much more likely that the trans community would have like discovered this rather than not.
But trans people don't want to stop being trans.
Do you really think that's the case?
Yes.
Why do you think that?
For the most part. Because I think, I guess it's definitional again, but I think being trans is a extremely overwhelming desire to become the opposite sex.
Okay, I'm going to use another analogy that I know is one, or I'm not using an analogy. Okay, so you have, you said a background in psychology. Have you ever heard of gay people expressing a desire to be straight? Are you familiar with this, like, concept?
I mean, I understand the concept.
Well, yeah, basically what it is you have a child that starts to go through puberty, and he's starting to notice that he's having an attraction to secondary sexual characteristics of the same sex, and it is a very othery feeling because it's not what your peers are talking about. You know your family's not going to be okay with it, and your friends are going to probably ostracize you as well. So rather than like saying that like, oh, I love being gay, it's awesome, I want to be gay, I want to have sex with men, the prevailing thought is like, fuck, I wish I was just normal. I hate that I'm having these feelings. Could that not be possible with trans people?
Or pedophilia.
I'm sure pedophilia could be another example as well, sure.
But the difference is that being trans is an overwhelming desire to become.
Well, an overwhelming desire for what to become?
To become a woman or to become a man.
Yeah, but I think the
There's a
distinction.
desire-
So this is kind of, this might be the center point of our disagreement. It's not to become a woman or a man. It's to make your body match what you think you already are. Because a trans person, my understanding is.
Oh, I know what their narrative. I know the narrative of a trans person is that you believe that you already are. If I'm trans, I believe I'm already a woman, and I want to make my body match my internal experience or my brain. I understand that is the trans person's definition of being trans, but I reject that definition.
Okay, well,
I think
that's kind of like that's where our disagreement is then, right? Because if I accept your rejection of that definition from there, then everything you're saying is almost deductively necessarily true, right?
Yes, exactly. So if you would just do that, this would be a lot easier.
Yeah, of course.
Okay, so if you want to, if you reject my rejection, then here's how I would frame it. The trans person believes, like if I'm gay, I'm still Max. I'm just Max who wants to fuck guys, right? And I don't, and my community doesn't want me to be Max who wants to fuck guys, and so, but that's just part of me. But for a trans person, they change their name, they change their looks, they change at a fucking molecular level, or cellular level at least. They want to transform their bodies. So I still think it's different in that you can I could be gay or I could be straight, and it would change that part of my life and that part of me, but it's not a holistic alteration of my body and identity. Whereas I think that trans people want I don't think they want to it's a desire to travel from here to here, and they want to be here. If to stop being trans is easy. You just have to not do that.
Yeah, but I think
then you won't be trans. You'll just be really uncomfortable and you'll hate yourself and like.
But I think the problem is
die.
that like our sexuality, or I'm sorry, our sexual orientation is only experienced in some facets of our life at some points in time, whereas our like gender or sex is something that is like omnipresent. It's basically with you from when you wake up to when you go to sleep, and it affects every single facet of your life. If I'm gay, I can go into certain areas and nobody will know that I'm gay. I don't have an outward appearance about it. Nobody has to know. Whereas if I'm a man or a woman, every single part of my interaction with society will be dictated to some extent on my gender expression. And if I'm
I assume that's part of what makes it so uncomfortable.
Yeah, and it's part of what means why they have to change so much. It's not just a simple thing like, oh, my orientation is a little different, you know?
I think also when you're gay, it's not like you're so upset that like you're not having sex with a man, right? Like horniness can be uncomfortable, but generally it's not it's not unpleasantness that is pushing you to behave sexually towards other people, I think. But when you're trans, it's like you're in a frying pan, and the frying pan is your own body and the reality of your own body, and wanting to get out. It is discomfort with your own body. I think that this dysphoria that is usually propelling the actions of a trans person. So that's why I'm saying I don't think trans people really want to stop being trans, because to me, if you're in the frying pan and you're not doing anything about it, then you're not trans. You just hate your body and you wish or believe that you're
kind of, yeah.
It's different from how it should be. And so who wants to just sit in the frying pan and like boil?
Yeah,
like,
I understand what you're saying, but we stumbled onto that thing earlier where it's a very fine point. But when you say they don't want to stop being trans, we're bumping into that foundational disagreement they have.
The rejection. Yeah.
Are they? Because in my point of view, they are trans, and now it's about matching the body to the mind. But in your point of view, there's a whole thing, and you either become trans or you aren't trans. That underlying fact of the matter isn't already there, right?
But but for your point, you're making a leap that I can't follow, which is that the broken pelvis thing, which is that a trans person, if they can actually learn without altering their hormones or surgery, which are the only two things I'm really pushing back against. I guess my main problems are punishing people for not referring to you the way you want them to, using surgery, and using hormones. Those are the things I disagree with. Everything else about being trans, I'm on board with. Everything else, I guess, about accepting trans people into society or adjusting, making room for them. I guess I'm on board with everything else. But the leap you're making is that if you can be calmed down, and if you can realize actually you don't need to escape your gender or your body, then you weren't really trans. I don't agree with that. I don't agree with your definition of trans as like that can't be accomplished.
Yeah, so let me just put forth this is so that we're on the same page here, or we both understand what we're talking about. So this is my understanding of trans people, okay? And this is this foundational bump up that we're having, okay? My understanding is that we seem to have some internal experiences related to our gender identity, like whether we feel like we're male or female. That there's like an internal experience that seems to exist there. In some people it's very strong, in other people it's not as strong. So you said something that I kind of agree with. If I woke up as a woman, I don't actually think I would care that much. I don't know if I had boobs and a butt. It's whatever. It's not like a huge part of like I'm not super attached to being like a man. Some people seem to be very attached to their sexuality or gender, right? So maybe this is varying from people to people. But for trans people, it seems as though in general there is a strong internal experience of a gender, and if it's not matching that external expression of their gender, there is a problem there that makes them feel like they're in the wrong body in a way that like there is an internal fact of the matter about their gender experience, and it is not matching their body. One of the best, it's just a personal example, so it could mean nothing. One of the best examples that I got of this was a trans person emailed me, and they had gone off and on insurance when it came to being able to take hormones for their body. And they said that it was like, if you get acne and you look at your face, like it's gross. But when they would start hormone therapy, I think this was a trans man, when they would start hormone therapy and then when they would get off hormone therapy, just the way that their body would start to put on that very like feminine fat, that feminine shape in their waist and everything, when they would stop taking hormones for a while, it was like a cringing, like fingernails across the chalkboard type of experience of looking at their body in such a way that didn't match their internal feeling of the gender that they felt they were internally. So that's the position that I'm coming from. So in my world, and I understand that you reject this kind of foundational argument, but in my world, the reason why everything builds out easily from this is that if there is an internal fact of the matter of your gender, and your body doesn't match that, and that internal part, whether it's socialized or not, is really, really, really hard or almost impossible to change, then it seems like the easier part is, well, if we can't make the brain match the body, then we make the body match the brain. And that's where hormone therapy or gender reassignment surgery or sex, whatever stuff comes in. Yeah, gender affirming surgery.
Okay.
Yeah, okay, go.
And yeah, so my pushbacks against those things is one, maybe we don't have to make the brain match the body. Maybe life just sucks. You know, maybe life sucks for all of us. Maybe none of our brains match our bodies to differing degrees, and we can't all have what we want. And the ways we think we're going to get what we want are actually just going to make us feel sad and cost a lot of money. Two, you're accepting as a given the extreme discomfort of your body not matching your sense of your gender, while also telling me that you don't believe that would be the case for you. I don't believe it would be the case for me either. And, okay, have you met men who you feel like who are like super uncomfortable with being feminized in any way?
Yeah, it's a really common experience for men, I would say.
Okay.
I went to an all-boys high school, so it's a very common, like, hyper-masculine, like, yeah, it's a very, very big thing, yeah.
I think that is kind of the same as being trans. Like, in terms of the extreme attachment to your gender, I find that your gender matches your body. I think that I don't think that's good, and I feel superior to people who feel like that.
Okay, so this is gonna get really personal now, okay? Wait, how old are you? I'm just curious.
36.
Okay. I can't give you good answers there, and I'm much younger than you. I'm only 33 years old. Okay, so it's possible.
That's a huge.
Yeah, huge.
Wow.
Yeah. So
yeah.
So here's something that's hard to consider.
Okay, boy.
It might be the case that you are somewhat of an exceptional person. Now, when I say exceptional, I don't mean great or good. I just mean like an exception.
I know what you mean.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'll get personal here because there are some ways that I view life that I think are incredibly exceptional. And it took me a while of having a public audience to realize, well, hold on.
Not everybody thinks that way.
Yeah, I have a wickedly different. The best example that I can think of is I don't have a strong attachment to my family, and I've never understood people that put up with abusive family members. And anytime somebody would ask me for advice on that, like, hey, what would you recommend? Like, my mom is like so mean around the holidays. I'm like, cut her out of your life. Why would you ever talk to her? Just stop talking to her forever. Never talk to this person again. It's so easy. And it took me a long time to realize, like, okay, hold on. Other people process things in such different ways. It's really, really difficult for me to empathize with them. So I need to like engage my brain a lot to figure out like, okay, well, how do you feel about this thing? Because clearly my experience internally is not the same as yours. And I feel, it's hard to say and it's a little presumptuous for me to say this, but I feel pretty similarly when it comes to trans people. And it's hard for me to say because I can't actually do this, but I really do feel like if I woke up tomorrow and I was a woman, I really don't think I would care. My masculinity or me being a man is a really minor part of my experience as a human. Now, maybe I only feel that way because I am a man and my body and everything matches, so that's why I'm saying it's a little bit presumptuous, but I really, truly don't think I would give a fuck. But it might be the case that not everybody feels that way. There are some people where some aspects of their life are incredibly important to them. That might be family. It might be their religion is a really big one for some people. Yeah. So I have to be careful when I talk to, so it's easy for me, or I don't want to say I see where you're coming from because it makes it sound like, oh, I know everything. I know everything you're thinking, but I can empathize with your position of it's like, well, I don't feel like gender matters that much at all. Why are these people literally like so distraught over it? But when I look at how other people act and I see like, okay, you're willing to fucking commit suicide because this is giving you so much anguish. Maybe it's
I don't buy it. I don't buy it for that reason. And I get what you're saying. I've had similar experiences where I'm like I had a friend in LA who was very religious, and her boyfriend, she was forbidden from dating her boyfriend, and he moved to New York, and I was like, well, just move to New York. Like, why you're still here? You're living with your parents, you're still here, you're like 25 years old, like what are you doing? And over the course of our friendship, which is like years, she basically didn't budge an inch.
Good to see you again. Welcome to the Bag of Tricks
incredibly
tour.
miserable.
Now that
trapped,
Izzy showed you how to look at the world
like a character in a
skater,
Disney movie,
it's time to give your trick repertoire a boost.
I know you grew up watching these
give
movies.
you a rundown
know what
on
the
some
right
more ways
answer
to
is.
grind.
And that's another
Cap
weird
it
thing.
off
It's
with
like
a fun little
culturally,
line.
we do have
Let's
the
roll towards Goldcrest
story
Village.
of like, oh, you should defy your parents and defy authority and go be your true self and fall in love and stuff. But most people aren't like that.
This like ultra individualist, ultra liberal idea of like being a rugged individual and blah blah. It's like I don't know if everybody can do that all the time.
Yeah, most people will just suck up to their parents until they're dead,
for sure,
and then have a midlife crisis. So I get what you're saying, and I agree that is a flaw in both our ways of thinking about this. That we're possibly just weird, but. To me, I can see why I am like that. Like, my mom's a lesbian, and I grew up listening to Prince and Madonna and Michael Jackson. Like, they were like the Holy Trinity, and like they all basically cross-dressed. And so, and I grew up in Amherst, Massachusetts, which is like super liberal, and so I had the idea of gender like deconstructed for me at a very young age. And I have to assume that is a lot of why I think and feel the way I do. So I don't... It feels like you're giving up on people a bit if you... It's not like an enlightenment. Like, I guess I do feel...
when you say give up, I think I understand what you mean. That it's like, well, hold on, like maybe these people could actually like, I don't want to say think their way out of it because that sounds a little bit like easy, but maybe if these people spent some time like deliberating on this, it would be easier for them to move from these positions rather than having to like go through these expensive surgeries or hormone treatments.
Yeah, like when I first started going to therapy, the shit I thought I wanted was wrong. For years, I was wrong. I knew what I wanted. I would have done